I will mention the kindnesses of the Lord and the praises of the Lord, according to all that the Lord hath bestowed on us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he hath bestowed on them, according to his mercies, according to the multitude of his loving kindnesses. For he said, surely they are my people.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Line by Line Bible Studies. We're continuing today in the book of Proverbs, chapter 10. We're going to talk about it from verse 4. We're going to read it from verse 1. Let's begin. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. He that winketh with the eye causeth sorrow, but a prating fool shall fall. It's always an easy way to end the proverb. The prating fool fall one, yeah. The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life. The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. Wait a second. Didn't I already do that one? Blessings. Okay, all right. The similar ending threw me off again. Okay, I'm not losing my mind. Verse 12. Hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all sins. In the lips of him that hath understanding, wisdom is found. But a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Wise men lay up knowledge, but the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their poverty. The labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruit of the wicked to sin. He is in the way of life that keepeth instruction, but he that refuseth reproof erreth. He that hideth hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool. In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. The tongue of the just is as choice silver. The heart of the wicked is little worth. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for want of wisdom. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. It is as a sport to a fool to do mischief, but a man of understanding hath wisdom. The fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him, but the desire of the righteous shall be granted. As the whirlwind passeth, so is the wicked no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation. As vinegar to the teeth, and as smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. The fear of the Lord prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. The hope of the righteous shall be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. The way of the Lord is strength to the upright, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. The righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. The mouth of the just bringeth forth wisdom, but the froward tongue shall be cut out. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked speaketh frowardness. One of the abominations, one of the many abominations, a false balance. Remember, people like to bring up abominations. Remember, abominations are quite a few. Many things the Lord doth abominate. Oh no, don't be worried about that. So I hear people say, it's an abomination. Yes, I know there are abominations of plenty. A false balance, a lying tongue. All rise to the level of abomination to God. You corrupt your tongue by speaking lies, He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand. The hand of the diligent maketh rich. Very a lot of this stuff is very simple, straightforward. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, but like I said, it leads to a lot of other intelligent understanding. I listen to sometimes people who are scientifically minded. I used to have a very strong affinity for astronomy. I still do, but much less interested than I used to be. Let's say, I have somewhere around here. I have like an astronomical calendar that shows the movement of the stars. That's actually and that's one of my. I think the best argument against flat Earth. If anyone thinks flat Earth is a possibility, you can get an astronomical calendar, and sometime I'll show it. It's a big thing, not astrological, astronomical, for the coming year. And it will tell you exactly where every star is going to be on every night, and where every planet will be, and where every object in the night sky that we know about is. And it can predict their positions exactly. And they do all this using this model we have of the universe that includes this, the sun and basically hung on nothing, and the Earth going around it, unbelievably so, right? Very difficult to believe, but the reason we believe this is because we observe the motions of those things, and they are for signs and seasons, and they do make logical sense. One of the reasons we believe they make logical sense is because God has told us to go and try to get understanding about things in the world, to first fear Him, knowing that that's the beginning of wisdom. God will open up many other things to you. He hasn't just blessed me in His own word; He's blessed my understanding in many things. And so, you know what? Don't let your hands be slack. You got to be busy. That is my number one. The thing I constantly am just cracking the whip over myself to get busy doing more things. And I'm actually, it pleases me. I don't want to say I'm proud. I'm not proud because I never think I do enough. I'm an unprofitable servant. I don't even do what I think is expected of me. As far as I think that which is, I think it more that whatever it is beyond expectation, that's where I think I ought to be performing. So, whatever. But the point is, I am pleased when people say, does your father ever sleep? I always see him working. Then good. Then I like to know that to the outside world, I've had people say, do you ever rest? I'm like, yeah, of course I rest. I guess I think of all the time I waste sleeping as you lazy bum, get up. So, I don't know. I generally, I used to try to take more time to relax. I used to take more time to relax. I used to have more time for personal amusements like games and stuff. I still occasionally will make time, especially to play with my kids. But most of the time, other people play games and I go back to work. Because I believe in this wisdom. I want to be rich, but not in the things of this world. So I'm not. There's very little hope of. There's some hope. The Lord can make me a rich man, I suppose. I don't want to be rich. I want to be my kind of rich, which means Because rich, to me, as someone who works on cars, rich is when you have too much fuel in your mixture. It's running a bit rich, more fuel than you need to burn. Right? You don't want to have more fuel than you need to burn. You want to have just the right amount. You don't want to run lean. But in life, I like to run a bit lean. Not rich. I've always ran a bit lean. I don't mind running lean. The Lord knows what I want and the way in which I want it. I just want to run lean in a particular way. So, part of me would love to run rich and have a little bit of extra. To me, that's rich. If you have extra money, more than you need to feed yourself, to clothe yourself, and to pay your bills, if you have money left over, you are rich. In my book. In my book, you are rich. Because people always think in terms of absolute dollars they have. But you understand, like, if you don't owe any money, because that's in there too, right? Do you owe money? Well, then don't tell me you got extra money. You don't. You don't. Not until you're debt free. If you're debt free and you have more money than you need to live, then I think you're a rich man. And someday I hope to be that rich, because that would be fantastic. To me, that's about as rich as I need to be. Other than that, all I can think about is putting in-ground swimming pools with like diving wells and stuff like that. I would waste the money. I don't know that it's a waste. I always tell myself it's a baptismal. It's a baptismal. It's going to be a baptismal. I'm going to put a pool in some point. I have a above ground pool, but it got rid of. But anyways, being diligent at things will increase. Whatever you put your hand to and you put your might to, that's going to get the benefit of that attention. Now, it's possible to spin your wheels to no effect. Let me tell you. I think it was Marx or something. They have this, the labor theory of value is not a thing. It doesn't matter how hard you work on something. It's only worth what people are willing to pay for it. Doesn't matter how hard you work on something. Doesn't matter how much effort you put into something. As far as the world goes, like if I make an ornate carving, let's say I take a giant piece of metal and I make this ornate carving, but nobody likes it. It's ugly, but it's ornate, and it took me weeks, months, years to complete. It's like that with music for sure. It's like I write music and stuff, and it's like, of course, it's not all complete, but it's not like, it doesn't matter how hard I work on it or what I think of it or whatever. It doesn't mean that like the world beats a path to your door. Also, there's you got to promote things. People never even get a chance to hear it. It's not like they hear it and they go, eh. Most of the time, they just don't even hear what you're doing. So like, but the thing is, when you do what you do unto the Lord, then you do have value in your hard work when you do unto the Lord. Because the Lord pays, not pays so much, but it's like, you don't have to, by doing good, you don't have to have actually, like when you look about like the Good Samaritan, he does this kindness for this man, and there's no immediate reward, for him. He's out of the money. He's paying for, he doesn't really get anything out of it. Not obviously. To see the investment on that level, when you're investing in God's kingdom, in the righteousness, which cares to do good just because it's the right thing to do. Because I know I can't earn my salvation. That's not why I'm doing good. I'm not doing good because I don't want to go to hell. That's not even on the table. I'm doing good why we should have done it from the beginning. It's because it's the right thing to do. You do good because it's the right thing to do. You don't need any other reason. You don't need a reward or anything. But in the Lord's work, there is reward. Like it says, but I don't do it thinking of that. I do it thinking, beating my breast, saying, I am an unprofitable servant. If I've only done that which is required of me, what has the Lord required of you? But to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. Is it not these things? He that dealeth with a slack hand, he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand. What dealeth meant there? I'm just curious because it's not obvious. Dealeth. accomplish. I'm just looking at that. So to do or make. Okay. It's just a different word. What's the other word? Let me see. And then dealeth. Oh, the hand of the diligent makes rich. I'm curious. Oh, Asha make rich. Asha. Yeah, see the word. Just for a point, I'll take here a second. I don't usually do this kind of thing. It's interesting to me. Sometimes people point this out when they do textual analysis, right? They'll be like, there's a rhyme here. A lot of these proverbs probably do rhyme in Hebrew, which explains sometimes the lingo as being a little weird. I like that nothing but righteousness is actually one word. But anyways, dealeth here we have is asa. And then the word for the other one is ashar. And I'm sure there's a similarity of sounding of the ends of the line. Asha, asar, or something like that. Very likely they're buried somewhere in the Hebrew. I can't really bring it out for you, so I'd have to be able to read it, which I tried to learn at one point long ago, but I gave it up. Okay, so back. So dealeth is just doeth, basically. I was like dealeth, maketh, they're working with slack hands. If your hands are slack, whatever you do as unto the Lord, it says, right? We want to be diligent. Okay, what else we got here? Moving on. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. Yeah. On one hand, summer, being early is good. Sometimes I'm late a lot. I try not to be. It's not a good thing to do. I admit the fault. But it's one thing on the little things of life. But though, he that is faithful in that which is least and is faithful in that which is greatest. So try, it's good to try to sew up all those loose ends. Not that you should get on yourself like, I'm sinful because I can't get to wrestling on time. It's all right. Because it's like some things are not so important. But like I said, it's not that we totally ignore little things because they are important, but only at their scale, right? Only in the sense of I like to sew up all the loose ends. Only in the sense that I like to give account for every idle word. I mean, that's just something that I like to think about and that we all like to think about as Christians because we look to holiness. But it's not something that I'm worried about. As far as my salvation. Right? And so but the idea is there's a season in which you need to be active and in getting after things. Right? There's a time when it's like, hey, and summer is the right season to start your gatherings as necessary. Things at different time. Now, but he that sleepeth in harvest. Yeah, it's like the summer is, I think, technically the harvest time. I'm not sure what the words are. And I don't think it really matters, honestly, on a technical level. Kaitz. Katsir. Okay, it's a different word. Yeah. So, but the idea is that, okay, now, but there's another person who's at the same time in that season asleep. Now, this, of course, could bring to mind many things in prophecy, actually, because of what Jesus says, right? Right? It talks about the early figs before the summer. But I wouldn't so much read that into the proverb so much as I would remember the proverb when I read those prophecies. I'd be, oh, yes, he that gathereth in summer is a wise son. What does it mean? Well, his servants in due season, giving them meat in due season. It talks about, there's a lot of in due season that Jesus talks about. We have to recognize the time we're living in and be doing the appropriate activity. That's the overall lesson, is to be busy when you see it's time to be busy, to get your rear end in gear. You stay asleep in the time when you should be awake. That is a son that's going to bring shame. In a house, obviously, you have a son who doesn't recognize, on a practical level, like the urgency of a situation. When it's time to work, he's asleep. I mean, and God help you, right? I mean, but these proverbs, it's like you can look at that. Like I said, look at in the thing of a child, and then look at yourself as a child of God, and then apply it to yourself. Understanding that there's more than just, summer. We're not farmers anymore, most of us. I mean, I have a garden. I'm a gardener. I'm not a farmer. I'm a gardener. And I tend to garden. Yeah, and all summer we harvest. There's berries early in the summer, right? First there's berries, strawberries, gooseberries, black currants. Maybe we'll get some of those goji berries soon. Maybe this year. Probably next year, I think. Maybe even figs. I'm trying to get a fig tree to grow. Gotta bring it inside, I guess. But there's a time for every purpose under heaven. And when the time is right, you better be after the right purpose. That's all I can say. We got, for me now, that's the purposes that I now have to pursue with diligence. You want to be, whatever you do it with your might. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. I wonder what sense that means. Because when it says blessings on the head of the just, okay, I'm trying to think of the violence that comes on the mouth of the wicked as being the consequence, like as something that comes to him, on him, as opposed to like violence being the product of his mouth. It is something that goes after his mouth, so to speak. That covers, because like covering your mouth with violence. Let's look at a different translation and see if they see what they think that means. I mean, maybe it's some sort of strange Hebrew idiom. Violence overwhelms the mouth of the wicked. Well, they're going the direction, I thought, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't bring that for you. There you go. See? This is the NIV. But violence overwhelms the mouth of the wicked, they say. But that's pretty much what we were thinking here. So I'm going to say that we were both right, and it's probably not the other thing. So, a second. When you do the just, what is the just? That's going to be Zadok probably. Let me just check that. I'm not going to bring it up on screen. It's the deck or something. It's a word that's related to all those words that usually have to do with justice and so on and so forth. And righteousness is sadaqah. And then, let me see, the righteous, the sadiq. Must be a different word here. Just is, yeah. It's a little bit weird because, and I'll show it to you here. The word in almost every one of these cases is sadiq. Or it's different if it's like, this is like for the righteous one. The just, the righteous. And that's, I think the way it's translated, Sadak, just, lawful, or righteous. And it's used in this context and translated both ways. Like here in verse, I saw it just a second. Like the soul of the righteous here in verse 3. Same thing as the just, okay? Same thing. And it means just what you think. Coming from what root? From the same as Sedek, which is rightness or righteousness. Here we go. Accurate, fair, just cause. I mean, the right way. Right. Very simple. So, being right. What does it mean being? Well, first, the foremost, remember, you always got to go back to the beginning of wisdom is going to be right with God. That's the right. Being right with God. Having a right relationship with God, being correctly oriented towards God, with God as your head, as your king, as your Lord, as your God, and then obedient to that, to the dictates of heaven. And so in being that, if we were to fully embody that as Christ did, we would be blessed. Blessings upon the head of the just. This is what God does. And my life has been a mixture. And God's blessed me sometimes in my goodness and sometimes in spite of it. But, it's like, I know that the ultimate blessing does not come to me because of any justness that we have of our own, but because of his mercy. But if we receive this mercy, and then this tells us that what the obedience to that brings us ultimately to, because we ultimately are justified in Christ, and we are blessed. And if we amend our ways, we can be blessed in another sense, in that we will not need correction. No correction or rebuke ever seems pleasant for the time being, and certainly not for me. When I receive correction, I don't really like it. And though all things are working together for my good, still, in spite, even though maybe I'm suffering because of something, right? I've done something and now I'm suffering because of it, right? And I don't feel blessed, right? But if I was obedient, then I could feel as blessed as I truly am. I could experience an uncorrected, an uncorrected walk, or I could just suffer I could rejoice, and I'd say, like, I must be suffering for the Lord because I've done nothing. I don't deserve anything. You could be like Job. I don't deserve any of this. So violence covers the mouth of the wicked. And I suppose that's in the sense of, like, when you do good, blessings come to you. When you do right, you will be blessed on your head, which is put for the whole person, of course. But the head is the most prominent part of the person. It's like if someone's, like, imagine if you have a crown, you put it on your head, it's a lot more important. It looks a lot more impressive than if it's in your pocket, right? So that's why blessings are on the head, not in the pocket or though they might be in your pocket, and that would mean something different. Like if I said, I got God's blessing in my back pocket, it means something. It's sort of saying, like, I got, like, this secret, not secret so much as I've got this, like, personal stash of God's good graces or something. Whatever. I'm just making that up as a way of demonstrating. So when violence covers your mouth, to me, it's like, well, the wicked now, when his deeds catch up to him, because that's the just, his deeds bring about blessing. Well, what does the wicked do? Well, the wicked, the consequences of their wickedness start coming against them. The violence of it, the violence of his enemies. Like the police are coming, and they're gonna give you, and everything you want to protest. The wicked always have something to say. Oh, no, you can't do this to me. Oh, I'm innocent. Oh, they got all this stuff. But it doesn't matter what you say. You know what I mean? The violence of those that will seize you and drag you away is going to overcome all the protestations of your mouth. You know what I mean? The violence is going to overwhelm your mouth, all the things your mouth could possibly say. Because what you have coming is violence. Because you sow the wind, you will reap the whirlwind. You sow violence, you will reap violence. And you can yell and scream and cry and pout and beg and plead all you want. But when it's time to pay the price for your wickedness, you will do so. And you can jabber all you like. Boo-hoo. You could have been blessed. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. That's a tendency. Wickedness has a tendency to rot your name over time. And people don't love you the way they used to. Right? You think about ancient leaders like the Caesars and stuff, who may have been revered in their time, but then generations later, we look at them all pretty much the same. Really? They're just men. None of them are particularly revered. Oh, one was a better commander than the other, whatever. We don't hold them in esteem. Some historians, some weird people. But just average people. And you look at also, it's like, you think about, look at the founders of our countries. And you know what? The founders of our country, Many of them, their reputation is suffering because of their sin, because of things that they knew were not right. You know, I mean, it's like, not that I'm in favor of what? Not rewriting history. I don't know. I think we all should do a lot more looking forward than looking back. You know, as far as like trying to, I get it. So for some things, I guess for some people is if it means so much to them, if it would bring peace, if it could bring peace, and then we could shut up forever, I would gladly see every Confederate statue melted down to whatever, and then carved into an immense ball bearing and thrown into the sea. I don't care. I mean, really. Okay, but it's true. And again, this is like observational. Some of this stuff is like it's not like he's saying this is how it should be or would be or could be or ought to be. Especially when it talks about like the poor. That's what I'm thinking about. Like when it says that one verse, when it says, a rich man's wealth is his strong city, the destruction of the poor is their poverty. It's not like an expression of God's most heartfelt desire or something. It's just a proverb of like life in this world. All right. Violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. You ain't got no defense with your mouth. Forget it. You can beg and plead, borrow and whatever. It won't going to help you. The memory of the just. Okay, yeah. When people do good things, hopefully it's remembered well. I don't know. I think we still remember some people well who are just. It depends because, again, Proverbs are true, but you have to wait sometimes. The time scales. Sometimes, like it says in the Psalms and other places, in Ecclesiastes, sometimes it seems like the wicked prosper. And in the short term, you look at it and you say, well, they're prospering. It's just like the short-term pleasure of a fornication. People, it's going to feel good for the next hour or minute or whatever, half hour, split the difference. Both those were a bit ridiculous, I think. Right? It's going to be good. I'm not going to have any regrets, am I? Well, why bother? Why worry about that when I can right now enjoy the pleasure? Why worry about regrets in the future? Why worry about planning for the future? Why worry about why worry about winter is coming? That's why I feel I like kind of living where winter comes because it does put a certain mentality on you, especially because I don't live in the suburbs where there are all these services and stuff. I got to look after my property a bit, or I could get snowed in bad. I could have stuff stuck under the snow that I don't want down there. It's going to make it hard for me to clear. I got to make sure everything's ready. I got to prepare. I batten down the hatches. I move things around. I get stuff ready because winter's coming. So if you're just, and over time, it's not always easy to see. But if you look at history, we remember more favorably those who were just and good, and we say so. I think so. And even so, you got to trust the Lord. Even if men miss it, the Lord won't. The Lord in the resurrection will make it all right again. Or not again, he'll just make it all right. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but the prating fool shall fall. We got to find out what the prating is all about. Just got to make sure. I mean, I think I know what it means, right? The prating, safa, lip, speech, edge. Ooh, the edgy fool. The lips, I'm like, this is one of those words. Or the lippy fool. These guys' lips always, oh yeah, baby. Interesting. I like it. Do you look at this definition? Band, bank, binding, border, brim, brink, edge, language, or in dual and plural, safeth, probably from safa or shafa through the idea of termination, compare with kaf, the lip, as a natural boundary. By implication, language. By analogy, a margin of a vessel, watercloth, etc. Band, bank, binding, border, brim, brink, edge, language, lip, prating. Okay, so that gets quite a stretch. We're having a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. Interesting. Let's look at we're going to have to go a little deeper, I think. Maybe we'll look at the Brown Driver picks. Let's look at the NES concordance. from an unused word. It means lip, speech, or edge. So when it says prating fool, obviously it is sort of like an adjective here of some sort, right? Organ of laughter in Job, of insulting grimace, Psalm 22. Oh. What? Psalm 22:8 has that? Oh. Okay. He trusted in the Lord that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him since he delights in him. That line. Huh. Of insulting grimace. I'm lost there. What was our number? 8193. Which doesn't occur. Like, show me 8193 anywhere in that verse. Thanks, Bible Hub. Leading me down a black hole into nothing. Where's 80 whatever? You said it occurred here. Sort of. I don't know. There is a moment there. I'm just trying to remember the line before that, but that's all right. Quivering in terror, Habakkuk, another song I did that I can't remember right now. Feature of beauty, a place of bridal, receiving kiss, of divine speech. That's such a wow. So that was all for number one. Usually a human organ of speech. Okay. And does this include the Proverbs 10? I don't see it. I see Proverb 5. Of language. What do they say? Of edge of shortest sea. And then they don't have anything more. Interesting. But, I guess, like I said, I think my instinct was right. And then it's like the fool that giveth lip. You know what I mean? Oh, there it is. Number one, lip. It's the lippy fool, okay? He's the fool that gives lip. It is a bit of an idiom, I think. Right? I mean, what could be more obviously an idiom? I mean, literally a word picture. The lip fool. That's literally what it is. The foolish lip. It's like an insult. Interesting. Okay. So that is the prating fool. The fool whose lip, of the loose lip, maybe is the way to think of it. All right, here we go back to the text. He will fall. So the wise in heart receive commandments, the prating fool. What is it saying there in that context? I don't know. It seems like it's just, in a sense, because he used it twice, it makes me feel like Solomon couldn't think of a zippy end for the proverb, and so he just stuck that one on again. Like, I can't find a clever comeback for he that winketh with the eye causes sorrow. So we'll just go with the prating fool again. It really feels like that because a lot of these are very connected. Like the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. The wise in heart will receive commandments, but the prating fool shall fall. He doesn't receive commandments, obviously, in this context, right? He just prattles on, I suppose. I mean, he has, what is it that makes him, his prating and his lip foolish? And I think there is a sort of a uttering foolishly with your lips, speaking foolishly with your lips. There's a lot of references to lips throughout the scriptures in that negative context, right? And you think about it, because the fool does not listen to the commands of God. Instead, they're too busy in their little world of what they have to say, what they have to think, and their thoughts. Your thoughts are not my thoughts. Your ways are not my ways. Like I said, whenever you multiply words, you gotta be careful. I always feel like that right here. Judgment begins at the house of God. Judgment begins with people who take it upon themselves to speak in the name of the Lord. And be careful we don't prattle on. I mean, in the sense of we do talk about personal issues sometimes, but it's in regards to understanding, in regards to being wise. Like I said, it's like, what is the purpose of being a Christian? What is the purpose of teaching people the Bible? Is it not to make you ready to serve? Is it not to prepare you to meet the Lord? I mean, what, and I see, when you look at the way people preach and stuff, it's more about they want to serve you where you are. I mean, like, I think what's poisoned the church in many ways is the evangelistic spirit. They don't know how to stop it. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean the church is still obsessed with evangelism in a world filled with Christians. I mean, like in America. So in America, they're out. And when they're obsessed with evangelism, what I mean, I don't mean in a healthy way. I mean like in an unhealthy way, whereby it becomes more like a foolish prattling, because they talk about things and the purpose is to get people who are not mindful of the things of God, people who are not scripturally minded, interested in coming to church. And I've seen this many times. I go and it's like, and there's, there was this, the only time I go visit this guy's church, and it's like the topic, he was embarrassed. It was unwrapping sex. And the guy was talking about how wonderful it is to be married so you can enjoy sex and whatever, and whatever. It wasn't inappropriate or anything, but it was just like, I just felt the panderiness of it all. And that maybe, there is a place, but it's like they build these big churches for the purpose of attracting large crowds, and then they preach messages with the idea of drawing these people in based on their interests. What are they interested in? What do they like? What is going to get people to sit their butts down in church and start donating? Because the idea is to bring people in. We got to make them into disciples. But what does that mean? That means, well, they come and they sit and they listen and they give money so we can do more of this. And it's a self-perpetuating positive feedback loop that tells them they're doing a good job because they got more people. But that's all. The only purpose of the whole enterprise is to get more people and make more money and increase the organization. But the people themselves are not increased. The people themselves are not served. They don't become better servants. Why would they want to do that to them? They have no interest in improving you as a Christian. None. I can't think of one. I mean, unless they care about God, actually, and not this money-making machine they're trying to construct, which is all I look at that as. And then, and why? I'm going to bring that up. Well, like I say, when I think of the preaching, when I multiply words and I'm preaching and I'm talking about the things of God, I may talk a lot, but I don't think I'm prating here, But sometimes preaching is prating, The wise in heart will receive commandments. I'm going to tell you, this is what you got to do, okay? To earn my salvation, don't be a prater. Don't prat at me about your salvation. This is what you need to do. This is what you need. Is it absolutely necessary? Do I have to do that? I mean, can I just not do it if I want to? Doesn't it technically, Just prattle on. Lip, lip, lip. Don't give me an old lip. Unless you want to fall. Receive commandments. He that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. Walking uprightly means you walk, I believe that means surely on, sure-footed, in a sure-footed way. Let me just double check that. I don't know why today it sounds like I'm in a tin can. I don't know if it's just maybe I need to turn my mic better. Maybe I guess that's just it. Just the angle. Yeah. There we go. All right. Well, I didn't bring you over. Sorry. Walketh surely. With security. Yeah. He walks securely. And it's interesting. And now that makes sense to me. At first I thought, this doesn't make sense. Why is it like one walks sure and the other one it's known? Because it sounds like almost like the same thing. Like I say, do you know? Are you sure? Right? In English, it's like that. But when you think about this walking securely, now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, Imagine you're walking a lonely road, but no one knows you're walking it because it's a secret you're traveling that way with lots of money. You're walking safely and securely because no one is stalking you. Okay? But like, that's the picture. The wicked, though, right? When they go, it says, he that perverts his ways, you're going to be known. I mean, when you walk uprightly, it's as though you walk safe and like no one knows your path. You know what I mean? And no one really notices your path also sometimes. When you're doing the right thing, you don't get a lot of attention, generally speaking, until the world goes to hell anyways, right? Until then all bets are off, right? When all of a sudden the world goes to hell, you do, like it says, he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. The world gets screwed up. I mean, read the prophets. I mean, they make an interesting contrast to the Proverbs because they'll tell you all this stuff, forget it. It all breaks. But when all things are going as they should be. Okay, so we have the upright, they walk securely. That makes sense. And then he that perverts his ways, well, you're not going to be so secure. People are going to know where you are. They're going to see what you're up to. And whatever you're trying to do, your plans and your machinations are not going to be fruitful. God willing. He doesn't allow you, because obviously people who do wickedly, they try to make their things secret, don't they? They try to keep themselves, keep everyone in the dark about what they're up to, right? I mean, but this is a bit of a promise that, hey, God has your back. Because really, there's nothing, obviously you can walk upright and you can get mugged on the street and, innocent people get attacked. Now, nobody's really totally innocent like that. Like I said, these Proverbs would work absolutely if you were as righteous as Christ, right? But we don't walk that uprightly. And not only that, the world is fallen. But this is talking about, like it says later, tendeth to how things tend to be. And you got to trust the Lord that don't pervert your ways. Keep your ways straight, right? Walk uprightly. And you don't have to worry, and there's an inverse of this, isn't it, too? Like, if you do good, let your light so shine that whoever does right, it will be known, but in a good sense. See, there's a knowing in a bad sense, like where you're found out, right? If a man be overtaken in a fault, that means to be caught. That's a bad thing, right? You pervert your ways, you're going to be known. But you walk uprightly, you're going to walk securely. You're not going to be found out. If it's discovered, though, what's going to happen? People will praise you for doing good. Certainly you have praise of the Lord. He that winketh with the eyes causeth sorrow, but a prating fool shall fall. The prating fool is always... I wonder how many more proverbs. We're going to have to get a count. So we got 2. I wonder if there's any more. I don't think so. I'm not sure. There's a lot of interesting features in the Proverbs that we'll go by. Hopefully I'm going to move. Winketh with the eye. Winketh with the eye is the idea of, plotteth secretly, so to speak. My wife didn't like the way I had a habit of like giving her a wink sometimes because the scriptures say it's negative, and she's a pretty concrete type of person. She doesn't like those kind of negative things. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't have to be negative, but it usually is in the connotation of this. It is a metaphor for a wicked intention. So for all those purposes, we will understand it to be a wicked intent. It is not, but it's not just merely a wink. It is a wink with some sort of intent, like a signal. Like that's the one. He that kisseth, betrayest thou the Son of Man with a kiss, and with a wink, you will cause sorrow. Yeah, with a wink of the eye, they cause sorrow. But see, that's what I'm saying. Doesn't this seem out of place? I must feel like the copyist screwed up or something very anciently, right? They copied the wrong end or something. Because I don't get it. What's the contrast? Let's look at another translation because maybe there is something we don't know. Certainly me don't know. Let me say you, not you. I don't want to drag you into my ignorance. Let's just say me don't know. And I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm just being ungrammatical to annoy people, which I do from time to Okay, I'm sorry. Wickedly as cause sorrow. We want another. Let's try the good old. Should we try the New Living Translation? We'll try that one next. Okay, so where's the winking eye? Verse 10. Winks maliciously. They don't want you to have any doubt. They're literally saying whoever winks maliciously, but there's no word for maliciousness there. See, that's I don't like about this. We'll do your thinking for you translation. I don't mind consulting it, but I don't want you don't want to rely on a translation like this for serious study. Now you can use it as a secondary tool. I don't want to just trash the NIV. Like I said, it was made with very excellent scholarship, et cetera, et cetera. As a translation, though, I cannot recommend it. As far as for serious study, it's just not. It's not for you. It's for casual reading, I suppose, and for a different look on, for a different take on the scriptures, plus interpretations, which are often correct. All right, now where were we? Verse 10. The mouth of the whoever winks maliciously causeth grief, and a chattering fool comes to ruin. Oh, I forgot. The but is not necessarily but. It is a conjunction that is dependent on context. So we don't have to think of that as a but, because in English, but like I said, the choice to be and or but is pretty much contextual in this case. So it's okay that they made it and. That's a perfectly good choice in the NIV, and I think that's where I should have gotten off. I should have said, oh, that's what it is. It's just changed it to and this is okay, right? As a contrast, it doesn't work. But as a comparison, it works perfectly, right? He that winks with the eye causes sorrow, and a prating fool shall fall. Also could mean that loose lips sink ships in the sense of like if you're making plans and you're with a fool, the plans are going to come to nothing because the prating fool will prat, I suppose. The lippy fool, the mouth of a righteous man is a well of life. It reminds me of what Jesus said about having a well of water in you springing up into everlasting life with reference to having Christ in you, which is the word of God. And of course, having a mouth that speaks righteous things is what it is to have, that is what the word of God does. And again, once again, violence covers the mouth of the wicked, like before, in just a little different order. Blessings on their head, and now their mouth is a well that brings forth a wellspring of life, because the righteous say things that bring life to others, that bring others life and sustenance. Words that lead to good outcomes. Words that plan ahead. Words that think ahead, that think of long-term consequences, eternal consequences, moral consequences. Everything isn't just a calculus of right here, right now. What's pleasurable? It's just like in Israel. It's like, if we kill enough of the Palestinians, then the problem will go away. Really? Really? You think so? Certainly lost me with that bloodthirsty attitude. I'm going to say for years, I have an inclination to be sympathetic. I still am. I'm sympathetic to the Jews who the Israelis are beating in their streets. I'm sympathetic to the Orthodox Jews who every time I see them, I think, I think Jesus is going to do a miracle with the Pharisees people, because they look like all the descendants of the Pharisees. And I bet this time around, they're going to be the ones that hear the Lord, or some of the ones anyways. Obviously, the Lord's going to call people from all over the place. So yeah, because I've seen plenty of those ultra-Orthodox Jews on those testimonials and stuff. He gets them just like he gets everybody else. The Lord has a way of getting those he desires, and they come to him. But the righteous should speak words that bring life. It should be about words that tend to peace and to life. There is destruction. The wicked, if they don't want to, if they keep uttering, because this is another idea of violence overwhelm their mouth. They keep uttering words, bloodthirsty words, wicked words, words of destruction. Those words are going to come back to you. You know, I actually heard Netanyahu mentioning Amalek, who Saul destroyed, okay, long ago. There are no Amalekites. These are not Amalekites. These are Ishmaelites. And God has put no ban on Ishmaelites that they should be destroyed. There's no such thou shalt slay. No, 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 no. I would caution you to remember the days of Gibeah instead. When, yes, those Benjamites, sons of Belial, killed that priest's concubine, raped her, murdered her. Just like inside, it was very much like Sodom and Gomorrah. The story very much like it. And all Israel rose up against them in anger. Those wicked men of Gibeah. And they went to war against Benjamin because of it. And they were slaughtered, not Benjamin, Israel. Because they did not repent of their own sins. It's fine, say your neighbors are wicked. Okay. They do evil things. They murdered you. You better be careful. The Lord is not, the Lord is not asleep. The Lord hasn't gone away. He's still very much around. And he's not fooled by lies. He's not fooled by violence. The violence of their hands will cover their mouths and shut them up. The righteous bring life and peace. There's a reason they have none over there, because they are not men of peace. Hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all sins. Yeah, pretty straightforward, right? Hatred stirreth up strifes. Well, and that's the thing. You can almost look at it in reverse. When you see strife being stirred up, someone's acting in hate. When people try to stir up strife, that's one of the things I noticed in my family with people I had to eject in the past, is that they would stir up strife because they hate us. And the stirrers up of strife are the agents of hate. Well, love covereth all sins, because when there's love, people have a tendency to cover up their sins of one another. Like my wife and I. We sin against each other probably more than anything. I mean, honestly, the number one person I've sinned against, of course, other than God himself, which all my sins are against him, of course, against the only Lord have I sinned in all truth. It's like, because my wife doesn't even have a right to complain because she's got so many of her own sins. She has nothing to say against me. It's like, shut up, you have sins of your own. No, against the Lord only. But if we were to count them on an individual basis and pretend that was the thing, we mostly sin against each other a lot. Not a lot, but compared to other people. Compared to my sins against other people, my sins against my wife are so many more. But because we love each other so much, it's like it's not even really a thing. We really forgive each other and we don't hold it against each other. That's important. If you don't allow, if here's the thing, if the sins of the past, if you can't get over them, it's because there is no love. If the sin isn't being covered, that's an indication that the love is absent. Just like if the strife is present, then you have hatred. If love is present, if if sin is wiped out, that's love. Love wipes out sin, just like the love of Jesus Christ going to the cross to lay his life down for us. And how difficult that was. But he did it anyways, That's why I think the Gethsemane is there. So, it's like, it wasn't just some cakewalk. It wasn't just like, oh, well, I'm God. I can take it. I can take this better than anybody. I'm a tough guy. Everyone always acts almost like I said, it's like, and I get it. I want to lionize Jesus and put him up on the cross. Like he's standing there. I think he probably, when I look at the Shroud of Turin, I believe he did look like that, actually. I believe he did kind of like, that's why the centurion remarked, because of the way he died. I think he died in a just, he posed it a bit. I think he's still in the pose on the shroud. They couldn't get him out of it. Like literally, like if you look at the way his shoulders are all thrust back and stuff, he still looks like he's hung on the cross and they forced his arms down. I just thought it looked like that. I thought I could see where the arms should be up. Like that's what his skeleton is saying. His bones are all lined up like he's hung on the cross. It's a weird thing to start talking about, but okay. Love covereth all sins. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever should believe upon him should not perish but have everlasting life. I can still quote it. In the lips of, right? That can be, there's so many ways in that which that's true. That's the thing about Proverbs. There's so many ways in which they're true. They're complicated truths too. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not all, it is obvious, but there's a subtlety to it. To understanding, love and hate. They're connected. And the Proverbs help you connect them a bit. Because, right, there is strife. And then there's covering up sin. I wonder what strife is. Let's look at that real quick. We're out of time. I was going to say, we're almost out of time. We're out of time. I just want to see that word strife because I did it too quick. Strifes. M. Dan. Discord or strife. I'm not going to bring it up on screen for you, but me, Dan. Discord or strife. Okay, nothing special to see there. I mean, don't look, whatever you do. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I'm silly sometimes. Okay. So, yeah, I like, I don't want to not talk about 13. I like talking about the rod for the back of him that is void of understanding. I wish I'd make a little more ground. We'll see how we can do tomorrow. Because like I said, I don't want to spend more than 2 days on each chapter, I think. Well, whatever's necessary. I don't want to, I'm trying not to hang too long on each proverb. I think we're doing okay. We could do a little more. But anyways, thanks for joining me. Look forward to being back tomorrow. Until then, remember the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy.
I will mention the kindnesses of the Lord and the praises of the Lord, according to all that the Lord hath bestowed on us, and the great goodness toward the house of Israel, which he hath bestowed on them, according to his mercies, according to the multitude of his loving kindness.